Hey everyone, my name's Adele and this is my EK Ignite Elementalist for Secrets of the Atlas League 3.26. I've had a few people reach out to me in game that have come across my profile on PoE Ninja, asking me how the build works, how to get tankier, how to deal more damage, and while this isn't going to be a guide, I will cover how some of the core functions of the build work that may answer some of these questions. Now, starting off, I want to mention that this build was originally created by David JWE back in League 3.19 and was popularized by MB Extreme. I'll have links to both their channels in the description. I'll also include other videos that really helped me get this build online. Some of the guides are from MB Extreme, some are from other content creators, but I'll have all of those listed in the description below. Alright, so as for what I will be covering in this video, I'll go over some core functions, I'll touch on the budget, pros and cons, and I'll end it with a couple of map showcases. First thing, EK or Ethereal Knives is a physical spell. We are converting 100% of that physical damage to cold. We're then converting 50% of that cold damage to fire, plus we have cold as extra fire, and then we're converting all of our non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage. Okay, so cold conversion, we achieve this in 3 different ways. 1 is through a craft on our gloves, 2 is on a Watcher's Eye, and 3 is cold mastery. So in order for this build to actually feel good, you're going to need some sort of explode. The cheapest way to achieve this is using the obliteration imbued wand, and you can pretty much use this all the way up until you get your explodey bow. One of the challenges you might face when trying this build is single target damage will suck. We overcome this by using the Gloomfang amulet. This amulet makes it so that any projectile that has chained will gain a percentage of non-chaos damage as extra chaos damage. As you can see here, 38% of non-chaos will be dealt as extra chaos damage. This is almost a 38% more multiplier on our hit, and with the Shaper of Flames ascendancy notable, and all damage can ignite, with all the damage as extra that we have in the build, we effectively double the damage dealt in the hit and get a really big ignite. The way we chain in a single target scenario is we place down a Hydrosphere or a Tornado, and our projectile then chains off this and hits the boss. Alright, let's talk about the budget. This build is extremely expensive. For starters, you're going to need the synthesized explodey bow base. The helmet is extremely expensive to make. I ended up just buying it for I think 60 divines. The quiver is super easy to make, but does require an Awakener's Orb, so making this earlier on in the league is a lot cheaper than making it later. You can make this with as little as 1 to 2 divines, but after week 3 or 4, this ends up being around 4 to 5 divines to make. I'm going to put up a rough budget for how much I spent at 2 weeks when I got my Headhunter, and then at 3 weeks when I got my Mage Blood. As you can see, the budget's already pretty high, and I haven't included things like my Forbidden Flesh and Forbidden Flame, and a few of the other jewels that I've gotten. I want to note that this build is really bad without ailment immunity, so you do want to get an Ancestral Vision or a Storm Shroud, and cap that out as soon as possible. Okay, as for pros and cons. For pros, the build is extremely fun. Like, it's probably the most fun I've had playing this game. It is the definition of a map blaster. I honestly think there is a very little number of builds that can compete with how fast this thing can blast through maps. And by doing so, you'll make so much currency. In my first 3 weeks of the league, I think I had like 120 plus divine drops. I'll put a screenshot of my Pilferer ring up as well. It can do all currency farming strats in tier 16 maps. You kind of fall a bit behind trying to run risk scarabs in like tier 17s and things like that. And it's pretty fun min-maxing DPS. For cons, it's super squishy. You do rely on evasion, but if you do get hit, you pretty much get one shot. You can invest the same amount of currency in other builds and get a way more well-rounded build that can kind of do everything. And it's not uber viable unless you're investing way more currency. With all that said, and one thing I should have mentioned at the start of the video is I've been playing PoE since Delirium League, so since 2020, and this build is by far the most fun build I've ever played. So I do recommend it, but just keep in mind that this is going to be a lot more fun as a mapper than it is going to be a build that you do all content with. I've included my POB in the description, and within the notes of my POB I've included some information regarding my mercenary and the buffs that the mercenary is giving me. With all that out of the way, I just want to say that if you guys want me to make any additional videos on things like crafting the helmet, crafting the bow, the quiver, and some of the other bits and pieces, or if you'd like me to go a bit more in depth on certain parts of the build, just let me know in the comments below.
You're finished. I survived.
Oops, that was you.
Death calls. I killed the one. Go on. You know the rules. Can't run forever.